الله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. ياسين والقرآن الحكيم إنك لمن المرسلين على صراط مستقيم تنزيل العزيز الرحيم لتنذر قوما ما أنذر آباؤهم فهم غافلون. لقد حق القول على أكثرهم فهم لا يؤمنون. إنا جعلنا في أعناقهم أغلالا فهي إلى الأذقان فهم مقمحون. وجعلنا من بين أيديهم سدا ومن خلفهم سدا فأغشيناهم فهم لا يبصرون. وسواء عليهم أنذرتهم أم لم تنذرهم لا يؤمنون. إنما تنذر من اتبع الذكر وخشي الرحمن بالغيب فبشره بمغفرة وأجر كريم. إنا نحن نحيي الموتى ونكتب ما قدموا وآثارهم وكل شيء أحصيناه في إمام مبين. واضرب لهم مثلا أصحاب القرية إذ جاءها المرسلون إذ أرسلنا إليهم اثنين فكذبوهما فعززنا بثالث فقالوا إنا إليكم مرسلون. قالوا ما أنتم إلا بشر مثلنا وما أنزل الرحمن من شيء إن أنتم إلا تكذبون. قالوا ربنا يعلم إنا إليكم لمرسلون وما علينا إلا البلاغ المبين. قالوا إنا تطيرنا بكم لئن لم تنتهوا لنرجمنكم وليمسنكم منا عذاب عليم. قالوا طائركم معكم أئن ذكرتم بل أنتم قوم مسرفون. وجاء من أقصى المدينة رجل يسعى قال يا قوم اتبعوا المرسلين اتبعوا من لا يسألكم أجرا وهم محتدون. وما لي لا أعبد الذي فطرني وإليه ترجعون. أأتخذ من دونه آلهة إن يردن الرحمن بضر لا تغن عني شفاعتهم شيئا ولا ينقذون. إني إذا لفي ضلال مبين. إني آمنت بربكم فاسمعون. قيل ادخل الجنة قال يا ليت قومي يعلمون بما غفر لي ربي وجعلني من المكرمين. وما أنزلنا على قومه من جند من السماء وما كنا منزلين. إن كانت إلا صيحة واحدة فإذا هم خامدون. يا حسرة على العباد ما يأتيهم من رسول إلا كانوا به يستهزئون. ألم يروا كم أهلكنا قبلهم من القرون أنهم إليهم لا يرجعون. وإن كل لما جميع لدينا محضرون. وآية لهم الأرض الميتة أحييناها وأخرجنا منها هبا فمنه يأكلون. وجعلنا فيها جنات من نخيل وأعناب وفجرنا فيها من العيون ليأكلوا من ثمره وما عملت أيديهم أفلا يشكرون. سبحان الذي خلق الأزواج كلها مما تنبت الأرض ومن أنفسهم ومما لا يعلمون وآية لهم الليل نسلخ منه النهار فإذا هم مظلمون والشمس تجري لمستقر لها ذلك تقدير العزيز العليم والقمر قدرناه منازل حتى عاد كالعرجون القديم لا الشمس ينبغي لها أن تدرك القمر ولا الليل سابق النهار وكل في فلك يسبحون وآية لهم أنا حملنا ذريتهم في الفلك المشحون وخلقنا لهم من مثله ما يرقبون إن نشأ نهلكهم فلا صريخ لهم ولا هم ينقذون إلا رحمة منا ومتاعا إلى حين وإذا قيل لهم اتقوا ما بين أيديكم وما خلفكم لعلكم ترحمون وما تأتيهم من آيات ربهم إلا كانوا عنها معرضين وإذا قيل لهم أنفقوا مما رزقكم الله قال الذين كفروا للذين آمنوا أنطعم من لو يشاء الله أطعمه إن أنتم إلا في ضلال مبين ويقولون متى هذا الوعد إن كنتم صادقين ما ينظرون إلا صيحة واحدة تأخذهم وهم يخصمون فلا يستطيعون توصية ولا إلى أهلهم يرجعون ونفخ في الصور فإذا هم من الأجداث إلى ربهم ينصلون قالوا يا ويلنا من بعثنا من مرقدنا هذا ما وعد الرحمن وصدق المرسلون إن كانت إلا صيحة واحدة فإذا هم جميع لدينا محضرون فاليوم لا تظلم نفس شيئا ولا تجزون إلا ما كنتم تعملون إن أصحاب الجنة اليوم في شغل فاكهون هم وأزواجهم في ظلال على الأرائك متكئون لهم فيها فاكهة ولهم ما يدعون سلام قولا من رب رحيم وامتازوا اليوم أيها المجرمون ألم أعهد إليكم يا بني آدم ألا تعبدوا الشيطان إنه لكم عدو مبين وأن اعبدوني هذا صراط مستقيم ولقد أضل منكم جبلا كثيرا أفلم تكونوا تعقلون هذه جهنم التي كنتم توعدون اصلوها اليوم بما كنتم تكفرون اليوم نختم على أفواههم وتكلمنا أيديهم وتشهد أرجلهم بما كانوا يكسبون ولو نشاء لطمسنا على أعينهم فاستبقوا الصراط فأنى يبصرون ولو نشاء لمسخناهم على مكانتهم فما استطاعوا مضيا ولا يرجعون ومن نؤمره ننكسه في الخلق أفلا يعقلون وما علمناه الشعر وما ينبغي له إن هو إلا ذكر وقرآن مبين لينذر من كان حيا ويحق القول على الكافرين أولم يروا أنا خلقنا لهم مما عملت أيدينا أنعاما فهم لها مالكون وظللناها لهم فمنها ركوبهم ومنها يأكلون ولهم فيها منافع ومشارب أفلا يشكرون واتخذوا من دون الله آلهة لعلهم ينصرون لا يستطيعون نصرهم وهم لهم جند محضرون فلا يحزنك قولهم إنا نعلم ما يسرون وما يعلنون أولم ير الإنسان أنا خلقناه من نطفة فإذا هو خصيم مبين وضرب لنا مثلا ونسي خلقه قال من يحيي العظام وهي رميم قل يحييها الذي أنشأها أول مرة وهو بكل خلق عليم الذي جعل لكم من الشجر الأخضر نارا فإذا أنتم منه توقدون أوليس الذي خلق السماوات والأرض بقادر على أن يخلق مثلهم بلى وهو الخلاق العليم إنما أمره إذا أراد شيئا أن يقول له كن فيكون فسبحان الذي بيده ملكوت كل شيء وإليه ترجعون صدق الله العلي العظيم. سورة الفاتحة.
محمد وآل محمد صلوات. کہاں جائے آخر بیابان ہر سو شکستہ ہے پہلو اکیلی ہے زہرا کہاں جائے آخر بیابان ہر سو شکستہ ہے پہلو اکیلی ہے زہرا رونے پہ پہرا مصائب کا صحرا اکیلی ہے زہرا کہاں جائے آخر بیابان ہر سو شکستہ ہے پہلو اکیلی ہے زہرا در فاطمہ کو جلایا ہے تم نے کیا وعدہ اپنا بلایا ہے تم نے تماچے نہ مارو مسلمان جاؤ علی کو بلاؤ اکیلی ہے زہرا رونے پہ پہرا مصائب کا صحرا اکیلی ہے زہرا بیاں کس سے جا کر کروں درد اپنا ہے غیروں کی دنیا نہیں کوئی اپنا کوئی جا کے بابا سے یہ جا کر کہہ دو کہ لے جاؤ آ کر اکیلی ہے زہرا رونے پہ پہرا مصائب کا صحرا اکیلی ہے زہرا اے لگتے جگر اے حسن ابن حیدر یہ نانا کے پہلو میں سونے نہ دے گر تم آ جانا پہلو میں سو جانا ماں کے بقی میں یہاں پر اکیلی ہے زہرا رونے پہ پہرا مصائب کا صحرا اکیلی ہے زہرا شہ کربلا نے کہاں روکے ماں سے، یہ مظلوم بیٹے نے مظلوم ماں سے۔ اکیلا ہوں میں بھی، اکیلی ہے زینب، اکیلے ہے بابا، اکیلی ہے زہرا۔ رونے پہ پہرا مصائب کا سہرا، اکیلی ہے زہرا۔ سر مرگ اختر تھا زہرا کا نوحہ، کب آؤ گے مہدی، کب آؤ گے بیٹا۔ خدا کے لیے اب یہ پردہ ہٹا دو، چلے آؤ آؤ، اکیلی ہے زہرا۔ رونے پہ پہرا مصائب کا سہرا، اکیلی ہے زہرا۔ کہاں جائے آخر بیابان ہر سو، شکستہ ہے پہلو، اکیلی ہے زہرا۔ دو جملے اور استغاثہ بی بی زہرا کے سب ساتھ میں پڑھے۔ یا زہرا یا زہرا یا زہرا یا زہرا یا زہرا، تو ہمیں حفظ اور امان دے دے، اپنی چادر کا سائبہ دے دے۔ تیری قدرت میں کیا نہیں بی بی، تو جسے چاہے دو جہاں دے دے۔ یا زہرا یا زہرا، اے میری بی بی، اے میری بی بی، آنسوؤں نے دعا مانگی ہے، تیری تسبیح پڑھ کے دل نے تجھے پکارا ہے زہرا۔ یا زہرا یا زہرا، قرض مقروض کا ادا کر دے، مفلسوں کا نصیب وا کر دے۔ جن کی گودی ہری نہیں بی بی، ان کو اولاد تو عطا کر دے۔ یا زہرا اے میری بی بی، اے میری بی بی، بس تو ہی مراد دیتی ہے، تیری چوکھٹ در الہی کا استعارہ ہے زہرا۔ یا زہرا یا زہرا، اے میری بی بی، اے میری بی بی، تیرے در پہ استغاثہ ہے، تیرا ممنون میری شہزادی جہاں سارا ہے۔ یا زہرا Ya Zahra, Ya Zahra. Surah Al-Barakatul Fatiha ma'as salawat.
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Sayyid Hasan, Rizvi, respected elders, dearest brothers and sisters in Iman, Assalamu alaikum, Jamii wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Surah Fatiha is requested for all marhumin listed on the screen, as well as all other marhumin. Surah Mubarakatul Fatiha. Dua primaries is requested for all those in need here and elsewhere, as well as those listed on the screen. Let us recite together. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. أما يجيب المضطر إذا دعاه ويكشف السوء 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 أما يجيب المضطر إذا دعاه ويكشف السوء. Ya Allah. Let us now invite Sayyid Hasan Rizvi to please come forward for tonight's Majlis. By Muhammad wa al Muhammad salawat.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم. أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وبه نستعين. لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. والحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين بالقاسم المصطفى محمد. ثم الصلاة والسلام والتحية والإكرام على أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المظلومين، واللعنة الله على أعدائهم أجمعين من الأولين والآخرين إلى قيام يوم الدين. أما بعد. صلوات على محمد وآل محمد. Mu'mineen, mu'minat, brothers and sisters in Islam and Iman, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Tonight we begin these ayam of Fatemah, where we commemorate on this first night, on this first Fatemah, the Shahadat of Sayyidatul Nisa al-Alameen, Fatemah Zahra alayha salatu wassalam. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. When we refer to the Ma'asumeen, we normally, out of respect, don't really call them by name. Usually we try and refer to them by the various titles that they have been given, right? So most of the Aimma, alayhimus salam, for example, we'll call them As-Sadiq, Al-Baqir, Al-Kadhim. We'll go with these famous titles. We usually don't call them by their actual names, right? Even for the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam, Allahumma salli ala. Right? We usually don't just call him by his name. We'll say Muhammadin al-Mustafa or Habib al-Khuda, Nabiullah, Rasulullah, something like that, right? Out of respect. So most of these personalities, you see that there's 2 to 3 of these very famous titles that you and I have heard over and over again, and we're used to it. So if you hear the title, you'll know who's being referred to. Although many of the Ma'asumeen, they share a lot of titles. Many of them can be referred to as At-Taqi and Al-Hadi, and they were known as these. And there are a few titles that were specific to them as well. But all in all, what you find is that most of the ma'sumin, like the imams, most of them at most have maybe 5, 7, maybe a dozen or so names, right? That's what's usually find in riwayat. The personality of Bibi Fatemah alayha salam is so incredible and is so unique that some of the ulama, they report that according to the various riwayat and the various different research that's been done, they say that there has been at least 95 different alqab and names for and titles for Bibi Fatemah that have been mentioned. 95 different names. These are all amazing, amazing qualities that all require time, they require commentary, explanation, tafsir. Now, again, we know all the famous ones, obviously. One thing that I want to start off with is, normally when we think about these titles, and the way that you and we give nicknames to one another, we do it based on the titles and the qualities that we see in each other, right? So what we witness in somebody else, we give them a nickname based on that. Hopefully a positive one, right? But sometimes, unfortunately, even negative nicknames. And some people, they are under the misconception that for the Ahlul Bayt, that the names are also something that the people just kind of made up for them as time went on, and we just got stuck to using it. And that may be correct for certain titles and certain names. But for these names of Bibi Fatemah, at least according to most ulama, these names are directly connected and have been sent down and are divinely inspired names. Let me share just one hadith that comes from Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq alayhi salatu wasalam. And again, this is just one of many of the riwayat that are out there, right? There's many like this. And I said that there's 95 total when you calculate and collect all the different riwayat and explanations that ulama have given. But in this specific hadith, the Imam says, لِفَاطِمَةَ عَلَيْهَا السَّلَامِ تِسْعَةِ أَسْمَاء عِنْدَ اللَّهِ. That there are 9 different names with Allah for Bibi Fatemah. So Allah Himself has given these 9 names to Bibi Fatemah. The first one is Fatemah. Her name itself is something, of course, divinely given to her. And وَالْمُبَارَكَةِ وَالطَّاهِرَةِ وَالزَّكِيَّةِ وَالرَّاضِيَةِ وَالْمَرْضِيَةِ وَالْمُحَدِّثَةِ وَالزَّهْرَةِ. Right? These 9, according to this hadith from the Imam, are 9 divinely inspired, God-given names for Bibi Fatemah alayhi salam. Right? Some of these we've discussed in previous lectures. We've talked about Zahra and the meaning of that. We've talked about Fatemah, Siddiqa, we've also discussed a little bit. So I want to jump into the next one on this list at least, which is Al-Mubarakah. So for tonight, inshallah, if Allah gives us the tawfiq, I want to just spend some time sharing some of what the ulama have discussed of what this title of Al-Mubarakah means for somebody like Sayyidah Fatemah alayha salatu wassalam. Salawat al-Muhammad. So, should be, I think, obvious to most of you. Mubarakah, right? The name, that's the feminine version of Mubarak. Both these words are coming from barakah, right? So, what is barakah? We translate it as blessing, right? But you translate it, as you all know, we've done this so many times, right? If you translate barakah as blessing, then how do you translate ni'mah, right? Well, that's also a blessing too, right? So we have to be able to make sure we are able to distinguish all these different concepts in Islam, and these English translations are not enough, right? So we need to go a bit deeper there. The simplest definition of barakah that the ulama give is that barakah indicates that some sort of growth. There's an extra amount that's offered, right? There's some increase that's there. And in terms of the khair and the goodness and the blessings that Allah provides. So let me give you 2 examples that come from the word barakah that are used in Arabic, and then we'll tie back how all these meanings come together and give us a deeper meaning, which we're going to apply to Bibi Fatemah as well. So another word which comes from barakah is birka. Birka, the Arabs would use whenever they would find a pool of water. Whenever water would collect in an area, they would call this birka, a very specific kind of collection of water. Another word that is related to all this is bark. Bark. Bark is related to a camel's chest. Now you might be thinking, okay, like what does any of this have to do with increase and blessings and all this? Where is this coming from? So let's take it back. A pool of water, right, when it's collected. Now maybe for us it doesn't really matter. Let's take these words and go back to, right, that time. In that time where water is the greatest resource, one of the scarcest resources available too. When water is collected and found, right, not just a little bits gathered, but huge amounts, huge pools of water are found, then what happens here? The person who is now thirsty, their thirst is quenched there, right? If they have an animal that's with them, their thirst is quenched. If they need to perform wudu or ghusl or something like that, they have a source for tahara now as well too. If they need to clean something, right, to make something actually pak, for example, they're able to use this too. If there's a good enough collection of water now, this now not just serves for an individual, but anybody else who's traveling, they are now, their thirst is quenched and they're taken care of by this pool of water as well. So this small little pool of water doesn't just have 1, 2, or 3, types of benefits. There are multiple layers of benefits that are there too, right? Now, go back to the idea of bark, which is a camel's chest. Well, what comes from a camel? Again, going back to what the Arabs were using it for. Besides using it to just ride on, because they had multiple animals that they could have used, right? They had donkeys, they had horses, but the camel was such that it made it very, very easy to load and offload things, right? If you've ever seen how a camel, goes down, it's much, much easier to load heavier things on top of a camel than it is to any other animal, right? Right? So camels actually were very, very beneficial during that time. Not only that, but obviously it served as a source of nutrition too, right? Because people did drink camel's milk, right? I don't know if any of you have ever tried it before. Some people claim it's very nutritious. I tried it, wasn't a big fan, right? Had it in Qum, it's not my thing. But I don't know, you can try it if you want to. Obviously, you can get camel meat from that as well too, right? So there's multiple layers there. Now, if you happen to own a camel, in addition to, again, being able to do deliveries and load and offload things, being able to transport things, transport yourself, transport multiple people if the camel's big enough, being able to get a source of nutrition through the camel's milk, getting meat, you have, again, multiple sources of blessings. And if you're somebody who, let's say, doesn't have a lot of money, one camel, now you've got a business, right? You're an entrepreneur there because you can start selling a lot of these things because of the amount of meat or let's say milk that can be taken from that, right? Especially if you know what you're doing there. So the idea of birka and bark, right? Pools of water, the idea of camel's chest, all of these things, why there are barakah, and what is the deeper meaning of barakah, is that barakah is when you have a simple, small, singular thing that is able to provide multiple layers of benefits to multiple groups of individuals and people, right? There are some types of benefits where you take it, you eat it, and you're done, right? A piece of food, I eat it, I'm the only one who's benefited, and now I'm done. That's it. It's over. But certain things like pools of water or wells or animals, things like this, these are a source of barakah because they provide multiple layers of benefits to multiple individuals, and they don't stop. They can continually exponentially grow as well, right? So one kind of simple way of putting it is that it's a gift or a blessing that keeps on giving, right? The blessings don't stop. They are there. And especially when it's barakatullah or barakatullah, when it's something that comes from Allah, then this is something, since the source is infinite, then the amount of blessings, if somebody knows how to utilize that barakah, then the amount of blessings that they can get from that and obtain and ascertain are also going to be infinite as well. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. So something that is mubarak or mubarakah is anything that has this feature and characteristic and trait of barakah, that it offers these multi-layered benefits or multi-group benefits, right? Many individuals, many groups have these benefits from this single, simple thing, and it can happen too in many different ways. Okay. Now, I want to show also how there are different examples of barakat or mubarak things mentioned in the Quran. We're just going to go through, I think, 4 different types or categories that are there. The first one we'll see in Surah Al Imran, Surah 3, Ayah 96, where Allah says there, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, Inna awwala baytin wudi'a lin-nas lalladhi bibakkata mubaraka, right? Wa hudan lil-alamin. That the first bayt that was given, the first house which was established and made for humans, is in what was in Makkah, which we know is Makkah, which is what? Mubarak. It's a blessed area, right? It's mubarak. It's a gift that keeps on giving. And this, of course, is a hidayat for all of the, intellectual creatures. So over here, we see that the first example that the Quran uses, that Allah uses in the Quran, is that sometimes a place, a makan, can have barakat in it. A city, for example, right? It can be a beneficial place and a mubarak place. Another example besides makan is zaman. Sometimes a time period itself can also have barakat as well too. So in Surah Dukhan, Surah 44, Ayah 3, Inna anzalnahu fi laylatin mubarakah, which of course refers to what? Laylatul Qadr, right? Laylatul Qadr. Inna kunna mundhirin, right? We have sent it down, meaning the Quran, on a Layla Mubarakah, on this blessed night, this night that continually gives. It exponentially increases and gives many different groups these benefits. If only, we were able to warn individuals like this. So another example then is, time. Think about it for ourselves. When we look at this idea of makan and zaman, right? Other examples too, besides Makkah, although some of us might say that, Makkah has kind of lost its level of barakah over time because of the Al-Saud family, unfortunately, running it. Inshallah, hopefully that'll be undone very soon. But even other places which are known as Mubarak places, like Karbala. Right? Karbala is a type of place where individuals who have, let's say, almost zero connection to Islam, no taqwa, no religiosity whatsoever, but you find people who maybe just get dragged along for ziyarah because their parents are taking them, or because they, the group was cheap, or it's off season, something like that, and they end up in somewhere like Karbala, and something happens to them over there that they can't explain. Right? They've never had a spiritual experience before. They were never somebody who was like Ahl Salah, Ahl Namaz. They weren't really involved in dua and things like that. But just being in that land changes them. And when they come back, they're completely different individuals. Right? So you can have a place, just the makan itself, of course, because of what took place there and the blood of the Shahadat, this itself gives this blessings that keep on giving. So this individual who changes now comes back, and that change that takes place in him, when other people see that, somebody else sees that, maybe there's hope for me too then. If somebody like him can go over there and change, then maybe there's hope for me too. Right? And if, let's say, somebody who is the head of the household and maybe wasn't super religious, and this happens sometimes where people become a bit more religious later on in life. One ziyarah trip, they come back, and then all of a sudden they say, you know what? I haven't been, the proper wali of this household, but after this, now I need to make sure I take this family on the right path towards the Ahlul Bayt. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Zaman, of course, too. How many of us know that some people, they only show up to the center for a'mal on Laylatul Qadr? And again, sometimes it comes off as a negative thing. It should be a positive thing. The fact that somebody sees value in these few nights, that they're able to come out, well, they're never going to open a Quran, but on these nights, they'll take that Quran, they'll humble themselves, they'll place it on their head, they'll read whatever's there, they'll dress in all white, they'll repeat these words, they won't understand anything, but they know deep down that, this zaman, this period of time that's there, there's something here that I don't understand, so I have to utilize it. Right? Khayrun min alfi shahr. I don't, these blessings are, it's not just one night. It just is continual. It expands. And people know that, look, it's possible that maybe my whole year has been a waste. I've been wasting away, but maybe in this one night, if I actually sincerely do istighfar and tawbah and pray for tawfiq, maybe on Laylatul Qadr, Allah takes that dua, He hears it and says, okay, fine, now I'll rewrite your next following year. It has happened to many individuals, right? These are not just like fairy tale stories. There are many people who only show up for these nights and they become completely changed because of this. Why? Because this night, Laylatul Qadr, like many other nights, 15 Sha'ban, other nights too, they have this barakah there, that they're able to exponentially increase and have multi-layered benefits to those who know how to take advantage. So far we've gone through makan and we've gone through zaman, places that are mubarak and times that are mubarak. Let's go to two more now. The next one will be in Surah An'am, Surah 6, Ayah 155. And this is a very sort of general category. So Allah says here, وَهَذَا كِتَابٌ أَنزَلْنَاهُ مُبَارَكٌ. That, and in this book, we have sent it down. In what way? It's mubarak. So objects themselves, of course the Quran, which of course we all know is mubarak, but Allah's mentioning here as an example that these objects, not just places or periods of time, objects themselves can be mubarak as well. فَاتَّبِعُوهُ وَاتَّقُوا لَعَلَّكُمْ تُرْحَمُونَ. Right? So follow, do ittiba' and follow this book and have taqwa so that you might get this rahmah of Allah. Now, if you ask other people, non-Muslims, when we show this, reverence and this love and this connection to the Quran, Right? Whether it's on Laylatul Qadr where we place it on our head, or many of us make sure that it never sits at a lower place. Right? Many of us will try to show at least some level of respect to the Quran in that way, right? Even if, let me say, we don't read it that often. Other people are like, look, what is it? If we were to be objective for a second, like take away our Islam for a second, what is it? It's just pieces of paper, isn't it? It's just materials. Physically, there's nothing there. There are people who are running around, unfortunately, na'udhu billah, trying to make a point. They take it and they burn it, right? But what's interesting is any other book that's burnt, who cares? Nobody else really cares, right? Not to say that I'm encouraging this, but this book has so much value and it's adored by so many people that some people are willing to go to the extreme that, if you do burn our book, we will protest, we'll come out in the streets, and some of them, unfortunately, will get a little violent as well too. Again, I'm not condoning that behavior, but it's just to show that people are so connected that, yes, just these few pieces of paper with some, ink and writing on it, it's so blessed and so beneficial that it'll completely change somebody's behavior. Or maybe before, they're not a violent individual, they don't really get upset, but if that Holy Quran is burnt in front of them, then it'll drive them to do many different things. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. That's the third category. The fourth category is people. People themselves, of course, can be Mubarak as well. Surah Maryam, Surah 19, Ayat 30 through 31. Of course, this is where, you all know the story, where now Bibi Maryam has taken a vow of silence, right? She was ordered to. And she's there with Nabi Isa as a baby. And all these so-called scholars are accusing her of zina. Like, what's going on over here? What's happening over here? So now she can't speak. So now the only one who's able to speak is Nabi Isa and defend his mother. So there he says, what? قَالَ إِنِّي عَبْدُ اللَّهِ. He says, I am Abdullah, I'm a servant, a slave of Allah. آتَانِيَ الْكِتَابِ. Right? Allah has given me the kitab, right? The book, the scripture. وَجَعَلَنِي نَبِيًّا. And He has established and made me a Nabi. Then in Ayah 31, وَجَعَلَنِي مُبَارَكًا أَيْنَمَا كُنْتَ. Wherever I am, Allah has also made me Mubarak. He's also blessed me too. Right? So just Nabi Isa, his personality, him as an individual, he is also a blessed person too. And again, we see this too. If you're able, hopefully you're able to connect all the dots over here, right? We have 4 categories that we've gone through. Makan, place, zaman, time, various different objects like the Quran, and people like, for example, Nabi Isa alayhi salam. But all of these things have this ability to pass on that tabarruk to other things too. So that's why when this piece of fabric comes from Karbala, right, a simple flag, which somebody just sat there and they sewed it. What's so amazing about that? But because of the connection to the makan, the connection to the zaman, and the connection to Imam Hussein alayhi salam, you see people will grab that and they'll cry over it. You see the connection that people have with just a parcham, just a simple flag. Or beyond that, right, when we see, a dharih, or beyond that, when we have these recreations of a dharih, right, where we have like these smaller versions of them too. People see pictures of these things, and you see that it causes people to weep. You don't have anybody else like that. No other religion has these sorts of concepts in them, where they see things in such an amazing esteemed light. People don't have these sort of ideas. It's such to the degree that the things that are associated with all of this, even what we give out, for example, in a majalis, in these majalis or in any gathering that we have, right? The normal term that people use when there's like food or chai or something given out is what? It's tabarruk. Meaning that because of why and the event that it's connected with, because of the message that it's connected with, even this food, this drink, everything connected to the message of the Ahlul Bayt has barakah there too, right? It's so powerful that even somebody like me who stays away from sugar and, bleached, carbs and stuff like that, and even there, some people, they catch me eating once in a while, and they're like, Hasan, what are you doing? Why are you eating this stuff? I'm like, look, it's tabarruk, I can't stay away, right? Otherwise, it'd be pretty blasphemous of me, I think, right? Salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. And in the back of my head, I'm thinking, okay, well, if the fire can be cooled for one Nabi, then I'm like, okay, so this, maybe the inflammation from some of the food that might happen, maybe Allah will cool that down for me if I have it because of the tabarruk that's there. Maybe, I don't know. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Okay, so we've discussed so far. Bibi Fatemah is al-Mubarakah, right? We said Mubarakah is something that has this quality of barakah, which is what? It's when a singular entity or thing, whether it's place, time, object, or person, or something connected to any of those, has this ability to extend out gifts and blessings to multiple different groups and individuals on many different layers and levels. So of course the final question that we have to answer is, how does Bibi Fatemah alayhi salam, how does she manifest that? How did she manifest it? And how does she still do that to this day? Let's answer that now with another salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. What you see is even the name and the wujud, the pure and mere existence of Bibi Fatemah is itself and herself a source of hidayat and ta'aleem, a source of guidance and education and enlightening for any type of creation and creature that comes across it. And on multi levels. I want to go through just some of those levels. The first, we'll start in a sense at the top. She is a hidayat and a central focal point for the malaika and the angels themselves. Well, how is that possible? Right? Most of us might think that, the central point for the malaika, if they're going to think about the insanul kamil or the most perfect individual, it should be Rasulullah, right? That should be the angel's sort of focus when they're thinking about insan and human beings. But in many places, the ulama say their focus is actually Bibi Fatemah, not Rasulullah, not Imam Ali, not Imam Hasan, not Imam Hussein, or any of the other a'immah. Seems strange, right? The evidence is where? The evidence is where? Hadith al-Kisa. In Hadith al-Kisa, when the malaika, right, including Jibreel, when they're wondering, this nur that we see, this light that we see coming out of the Kisa, we don't understand. We've never experienced something like this before. What is going on here? Who are these individuals? Who are these personalities, right? وَمَنْ تَحْتَ الْكِسَى. Who's under this kisa? Who's there? So how are the angels introduced to the personalities there? Are they told about Imam Hasan? Are they told about Imam Hussein? Are they told about Amir al-Mu'mineen? No, neither of them, none of them. They're not even introduced to Rasulullah. What do they say? Hum Fatemah wa abuha wa ba'luha wa banuha. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. And, when we want to introduce or make connections between other individuals, what do? What do you and I do? Right? If you're trying to describe, do you know this so-and-so person, Ali? Like, Ali who? It's like, okay, well, he was the roommate of this person and this person. Oh, okay. You find somebody that's on the middle ground, right, that you can make a connection with, and that's how you introduce everybody else. So the ulama say that the nur of Fatemah was more understood by the malaika than the nur of everybody else. Like, that's how amazing her nur is. Now, how to explain that? I don't have time for that. That's a much deeper, much more complicated discussion of why this nur of Fatemah has this value even with the malaika, right? Because some might say, especially if somebody from Ahlul Sunnah is listening, like, how dare you say this? You're taking down the maqam of Rasulullah. No, we're not reducing the maqam of Rasulullah. We're not reducing, and of course, if other Shia say, but you're reducing the maqam of Amir al-Mu'mineen, of Imam Hasan, Imam Hussein. So no, we're not doing that. What we have to understand is that these darajat, these levels, these stations, these maqamat, every single personality has something different. They each have their own unique qualities. Yes, they are all nurun wahid, they're all from one light, but when that light, just like when you have that sort of light spectrum, when they all shine different colors, I hate to use the word rainbow nowadays, but I think you know what I mean, right? Is when they all shine in different ways, they all are projecting that one pure nur, that one whiteness, right? So when the Ahlul Bayt express themselves, it's all coming from one source, but the way that they emanate is different. And sometimes people have, a different connection to these lights, right? But khair, I don't want to get lost in that discussion because we'll get lost in what the idea of nur is and why this nur of Fatemah and the idea of feminine nur has a different quality than masculine nur. But again, that's much, much more different. And I know that most of you guys don't like metaphysics from the minbar, so I'll leave that for another time, inshallah. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. So one level where you see that she's providing this barakah is even to the malaika themselves. Second level is to kullu nas, kullu insan, all of mankind. What do you mean, all of mankind? Yeah, all of mankind. Like, how is that possible? Well, it's simple. She herself is the source of all the Ayyam al-Athar, right? Except for Imam Ali, she is the source of all of them, right? She is the al-Ayyamah. She is the mother for all of these imams. Yes, there are many other mothers later on who give birth to one Imam and their lineages may or may not continue after that. But Bibi Fatemah is that core nucleus where all these other 11 Imams continue. And the most specific one, which becomes this guidance for mankind, where is of course going to be with Imam al-Mahdi, Ajjalallahu ta'ala farajuhu sharif. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. They say all of mankind is waiting for Imam al-Hujjah, right? Whether they understand or not. Everybody wants justice and truth and all of that stuff, right? That's coming from Imam al-Hujjah. Imam al-Hujjah himself says that Bibi Fatemah is a Hujjah on us, just like we are a Hujjah on everybody else. That our source for getting to Allah is through Bibi Fatemah, through our great-grandmother, right? She is our connection and our source. So they themselves have placed her on this maqam and pedestal. So all of mankind now has this connection to Bibi Fatemah because of this. Because they're waiting for that hidayat and that education through Imam al-Zaman, eventually inshallah. We pray that his dhuhr comes close and soon. That same thing that all of mankind is waiting for is impossible about Bibi Fatemah, right? And even in the books of the Ahlul Sunnah, it said that this Mahdi is going to come through the line of Bibi Fatemah. So it's undeniable to all Muslims, right? Everybody has that there. So far, we have the Malaika, right? They are receiving this barakah from Bibi Fatemah. We have all of insan who are receiving it from Bibi Fatemah. Even specific groups of insan too. Right? I don't want to go through all the different groups, just maybe one or two. Even specifically children get benefits from the name of Fatemah. Children themselves, especially daughters. Well, how does that work? Many of you are familiar, right, in the riwayat. Somebody had come to our sixth Imam, Ja'far as-Sadiq, alayhi salatu wassalam. And he said that, Yabna Rasulullah, I want to share with you good news that we had a daughter born in our house. So the Imam wishes him, Mubarak, congratulations to you. And what name did you give her? And he said, we named her Fatemah. It's like the Imam's heart starts breaking. He says, our hearts shudder when we hear the name of our grandmother. He says, please make sure you never lift a hand towards somebody who has that name. When you name your daughters Fatemah, they get special divine protection. This is why many of the ulama advise why we name our sons, we try to name our sons Ali and our daughters Fatemah. They say, especially for Fatemah, especially for these girls, they say when we have that name there, the name of Bibi Fatemah should come to our mind so that no father ever dare raise their hand against somebody who has that name of Fatemah. Even children get this protection just from having that name of Fatemah, right? And another part of the riwayat, when the Imam continues and mentions the barakah just for the name of Bibi Fatemah, he says that on Yawm al-Qiyamah, when one of the first individuals, according to many riwayat, that Bibi Fatemah will be one of the first ones who's called and then raised to come forward towards Jannah. So when Allah calls out, Ya Fatemah, then not just Bibi Fatemah, but they say that everybody named Fatemah will rise up at that point. So the person who heard this says, Rasulullah, this sounds strange. Like, why would everybody get up? This is obviously just for Bibi Fatemah, right? He says, yes, this call was just for our grandmother, our holy ancestor. But because of the barakah of her personality and her name, anybody else who's given that name and who stands up along with her also enters Jannah as well. Now, of course, the ulama say, look, just because you have the name doesn't mean anything. You have to live by those qualities too. And that means that the parents need to raise them like Bibi Fatemah, right? So that's the idea. Not just you give them the name and then they're saved. But of course, hopefully you and I all understand that, subtle point. And of course, the final group that is saved here is us. Or hopefully it's us as the Shia of Ahlul Bayt. This name, this personality, and everything that Bibi Fatemah has left for us, as we sit here in these majalis, our ability to shed tears, our ability to hold these majalis al-aza, all of this, the barakah that we receive from this is all because of Bibi Fatemah. It is her that was asking, Ya Rasulullah, Ya Abata, who is going to cry for my Hussein? She's the one making this request that, no, I need a group and I want to come do shafa' for them. We owe this to Bibi Fatemah. Even though you and I may not deserve it, Bibi Fatemah says, no, the azadaran of my grandson, of my son, of course, I'll do that. And when she's asked, Ya Fatemah, on Yawm al-Qiyamah, what do you bring for the shafa'ah of your Shia? And as the famous riwayah says, he says, Hada yadan kafi the Shia. These two hands of my Abbas, these are kafi for my Shia. This is the barakah that Bibi Fatemah offers to you and I, where we're able to gather and come. We lower our heads, we shed tears, we feel that gham and that musibah in our hearts, all for the sake of Fatemah and her descendants and her children. It's a barakah for us that we're able to go to places like Karbala, that we're able to go to all the other ziyarah places, to visit the children, the family of Fatemah, to go and to grab the darih, to cry and to wail and to moan, to complain about what has taken place to them, to the dhulm that's happened to the Ahlul Bayt. We wail and we cry and complain, and even that becomes a source of istighfar and tawbah and cleans away our sins. This is the blessings that has been given there. But we also know that sometimes this tabarruk, things that have barakah, can also be taken away from people as well too. When they do khiyanat, when they are treacherous, when they lie, when they steal, when they break their bay'ah, when people go against the teachings of the Ahlul Bayt, these different levels of barakat can also be pulled away. So we do have the barakat where we're able to go and cry at the grave of Hussein. We can go and cry at the grave of many of the other members of the Ahlul Bayt. We can even look, although it's tough, but we can look at the graves of some of the other imams in Baqi, although we can't get close, and inshallah, we get closer one day, inshallah. But we say, Ya Bibi, we want the barakah to be able to find out where is your makan. Every time we go, when we are there in Makkah, when we go to Medina, we want to know where's the barakah of your makan. Which way do we turn? Do we go to Baqi? Are you with the imams over there? Do we turn to Rasulullah? Are you buried next to him? Do we turn towards Najaf? Maybe you're with Mawla Ali. Or do we look back towards Karbala and think that no, Bibi, maybe you're with Imam Hussein. Where else would you be? We are so mazloom, Ya Fatemah, that even the barakat of zaman, we don't have that too. We have to commemorate your shahadat tonight. We wait now, weeks, months later, we commemorate again. We don't even know when to commemorate your shahadat. We don't know what took place on that night as well too, as things were done in the cover of night. The details, the people, all these things there. Bibi, we have nothing here to do. All we want to do is to come together. All we have are these little bits of the story, and all we have is the heartbreaking, heart-wrenching reaction from the children of Fatemah, where we hear in these famous riwayat, as Imam Ali gathers the children together, as he's performing the final rites and performing the ghusl, and putting on the kafan of Fatemah, what that was left by Rasulullah. As he's performing all of this and he calls them forward, Ya Hasan, Ya Hussein, Ya Kulthum, Ya Zainab, come forward and give your wida, say your final salams to your mother. And as all of them do this, they begin crying and saying salam to their mother for the last time. Some of our ulama have reported that Imam Hussein was feeling, it was tough for him to go close, because Imam Hussein had a very special connection to Fatemah. It was very difficult for him. And Bibi Fatemah had a very special place in her heart for Imam Hussein. So some of the books, they report that when this happened, they say a hand came out from under the kafan of Bibi Fatemah and began calling Ilayya, Ilayya, Bunayya. Imam Hussein then came close and went on top of the body of Fatemah. Then they say that Imam Ali heard the voice of the angel saying, Ya Ali, Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen, pull away the body of Hussein from Fatemah, because we here in the heavens cannot understand, we cannot stand the sight of seeing Hussein cry like this.
ألا لعنة الله على قوم الظالمين وسيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون رضا بقضائه وتسليما لأمره صلوات على محمد وآل محمد.
क्या हाल ये उम्मत ने, क्या हाल ये उम्मत ने, ज़ाहरा का बनाया है, पहलू भी शिकस्ता है, तुर्बत भी शिकस्ता है, पहलू भी शिकस्ता है, तुर्बत भी शिकस्ता है, पहलू भी शिकस्ता है, तुर्बत है, خاتون کوئی غم سے یوں چور نہیں دیکھی، ایسی کوئی دنیا میں مستور نہیں دیکھی، 18 برس میں ہی لگتی جو ضعیفہ ہے، پہلو بھی شکستہ ہے، تربت بھی شکستہ ہے، پہلو بھی تربت بھی شکستہ ہے، دربار میں ظالم نے کی ایسی پذیرائی، کس طرح سے تو بی بی پھر لوٹ کے گھر آئی، بالوں کی سفیدی نے سب حال سنایا ہے، پہلو بھی شکستہ ہے، تربت بھی شکستہ ہے، پہلو تربت بھی ہے، دو ایسے جنازے ہیں تاریخ میں جو اٹھے، بس گھر کے ہی لوگوں نے دونوں کو دیے کاندھے، ایک فاطمہ زہرا ہے، ایک بالی سکینہ ہے، پہلو بھی شکستہ ہے، تربت بھی شکستہ ہے، پہلو تربت ہے، مرہم تیرے زخموں کا بی بی نہ ملا اب تک، اولاد امیہ کی باقی ہے جفا اب تک، رونے پہ بھی پہرا تھا، تربت پہ بھی پہرا ہے، پہلو بھی شکستہ ہے، تربت بھی شکستہ ہے، پہلو بھی تربت بھی مہدی سے کوئی پوچھے کیا اس پہ گزرتی ہے آواز بقیہ سے جب رونے کی آتی ہے آنکھوں سے لہو رو کر وہ بھی یہی کہتا ہے پہلو بھی شکستہ ہے تربت بھی شکستہ ہے پہلو بھی تربت بھی شکستہ ہے الفاتحہ
السلام عليك يا رسول الله السلام عليك يا أمير المؤمنين السلام عليك يا فاتمة الزهراء سيدتي نساء العالمين السلام عليك يا حسن المجتبى السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله الحسين السلام عليك يا علي بن الحسين ومحمد بن علي وجعفر بن محمد وموسى بن جعفر وعلي بن موسى محمد بن علي وعلي بن محمد والحسن بن علي. السلام عليك يا حجة بن الحسن يا صاحب الأسر والزمان، الأمان الأمان الأمان. السلام عليك يا خليفة الرحمن، السلام عليك يا شريك القرآن، السلام عليك يا كعبة الإيمان، السلام عليك يا إمام الإنس والجان. عجل الله تعالى فرجك وسهل الله تعالى مخرجك وظهورك واجعلنا من أنصارك ورحمة الله وبركاته. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم كل وليك الحجة ابن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة، وليا وحافظا وقاعدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا، حتى تسكنه أرضك طوعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين.